Hello, podcast world, fellow horticulturists, lovers of plants, gardeners, family, and friends. Welcome to Shrubby Buddies, the podcast, friends with woodies for garden goodies. I'm host Matt Guthrie.
And I'm host Tim Fleischer. Coming at you from Central Ohio, Zone 6B. We're just a couple of public horticulturists and certified arborists with experience in education, landscape design, gardening, retail, and wholesale.
So grab a drink, polish your pruners, dust off that kneeling pad, and let's get down to business. Hey, Shrubby Buddies, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I am Matthew C. Guthrie the First, joined with Tim Tangerine GM Fleischer. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Matt. I'm good.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking out the window here. You've got some neighbors sitting on their lawn chairs in the front yard.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoying life.
Yep, but no Hummers right now.
No.
Hummers are buzzing on out of here for this season. Last time you were in this room, though, there were Hummers just flying around in my garden.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah. What's new? Anything?
Let's see. Last week, you and I spoke at the Mill Creek Open House.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mill Creek is one of our growers of a lot of the perennials we buy, and their open house is really spectacular, and they invited Matt and I to speak, and we did. We spoke about fall and winter perennials that shine during those seasons that we enjoy, and I enjoyed that. I had a good time giving that talk. We had a nice audience. Sounds like we had some laughter and a lot of note taking, which is always good.
Yeah, for sure. I think it was well received.
Yeah,
and they said that a lot of the workers were really bummed because they got called away to help customers and they couldn't come and watch our talk, and they were really excited about that. So
yeah.
They were excited to hear us talk, and they didn't get to.
Right.
So they were not excited about having to help customers.
Well, it's not that they weren't excited to help customers, because Mill Creek is very customer focused. It's just that they were more excited to listen to us.
Who wouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
You're right.
No, I thought it was a really good talk myself.
It was a good talk, a nice event, great people. So
yeah, I felt energized.
Yeah.
So all of that good stuff.
And this week we've been working on getting fall annuals installed, whether that be containers, and
we have.
That's what you and I have been working on.
We've been getting a lot of fall annuals put in the ground and in containers this week. We finally have gotten some rain here in Central Ohio.
With more on the way, I think.
With more on the way. You've gotten a little bit more than I have. I'm kind of in northwest Central Ohio, and we've gotten, I don't know, between 3/4 of an inch and an inch of rain, where I think that you're pushing closer to 2 inches for the week. Probably.
Yep.
Nice. Timmy Toots.
Yes.
I wish
close to
those
2
would
inches.
come in on the mics better.
It may have.
We need to mic up your butthole.
Anytime you want to mic up my butthole,
God,
it's ready.
It. Yeah, so that's what's been kind of going on, right? Nothing too crazy.
The Browns beat the Packers on Sunday, which was
Buckeyes had an off week,
which was very unexpected, but
hey,
it's pretty
cool.
Yeah.
We'll take it, right? I'm first in our fantasy league.
Oh yeah, you are. Yeah, you.
Dewey was talking shit to me today. Was like, "Oh, that's okay. You can be first. Just remember, I won the league last year, and I'm going to win it again this year." Blah 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 blah.
You got to look forward. It's time to look forward, buddy.
Like whatever, dude.
Yeah,
bring it on, bitch. Yeah. So, what are you doing over there?
Just adjusting my pants.
You doing a little belly rub on the mic, are you? So, yep, more belly rubs on the mic. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate that. Yeah, other than that, not a whole lot going on. Besides fall annuals, starting to get a few things in for trees and shrubs for the fall. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like you and I are going to have trouble getting the next podcast recorded because you're not available Tuesday.
Okay.
And I'm going to be out of town this weekend.
So the only day we could do it would be Monday?
Yeah.
And you don't record on Mondays?
Depends on when we get back on Sunday, though, too. Because we don't have game times yet for Amelia's games, and it's a tournament. So if they make the championship game, we'll be there later, or yada yada. So that'll just have to be up in the air.
That's fine. You know the other thing too, Tim. I know that we always drop this at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah,
but like there isn't, I guess, a hard fast rule that
that's true.
if we didn't want to skip a podcast next week, then we could always do it on a Wednesday.
Yeah, I just don't want to let loyal listeners down who listen at 9 p.m. on Tuesday night. We've got a handful of them.
Trust me, I know. But I've heard from some of those loyal listeners, and when we haven't done them, they're like more disappointed at us not doing it than if it was to drop a little bit later.
All right.
You know what, though? It's our podcast, so we'll do what we want.
That's right.
We can discuss that. So we may or may not have a podcast next week.
Yeah, we're driving this bus.
Sorry,
y'all
Bob.
are along for a ride.
Sorry, Bob Burby. He's one that always gives
Yeah.
me a bunch of shit. So
Yeah, Hummers.
All right. So what's the topic this week, Tim?
So today we are going to talk about the wet Hort American summer that we've had. We're going to talk about kind of the best ofs, a little summer recap, a little superlatives,
best ofs, worst ofs,
funniest
moments.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
a little summer recap because, we're saying goodbye to summer, and I've heard a lot of people being sad about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm certainly not sad about summer going away, but it does just symbolize the growing season kind of going away and getting into winter, which, for getting your hands dirty, horticulture, that's no fun. But
I think it's a necessary moment as a horticulturist to kind of step back, reset, think about the 2026 season, kind of get your pruners all sharpened up and
dust off that kneeling pad.
Dust off the kneeling pad and get ready for...
I do like living somewhere where we have seasons, so you can kind of shift gears, mentally and physically throughout the season. But we would like to do today is just recap our summer, our horticulture summer.
Yeah, I thought it would be fun seeing as how yesterday was the first day of fall. So that was kind of like the end of summer. So let's just kind of recap it with some of our best, worst, funniest, and all of that good stuff.
Cool. Sounds good.
So it should be a fun one. There'll be a little bit of plant talk, and there'll be some non-plant nonsense, and
let's dive in belly first.
Yeah, so we hope that you all enjoy this. All right, first up, well, I guess what we can do is we can do the plant stuff first.
Okay.
Kind of go over that, and then we can shift from the plant stuff into some of the non-plant related kind of funny stuff, or there may be a little music talk in here. There may be a little alcohol talk. So, all right. So first up, Bub. Best annual. What was the best annual that you used this year? The best performing annual that you used in your annual displays?
I used a plumbago, and the cultivar was dark blue Escapade, and it got a lot of compliments from people I respect.
Yeah,
and I really like how it grew. I'll definitely use it again, but maybe in a different setting. It did get a little bit crazy in those planters towards the very, very end of the summer. But when it was hitting its stride, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, crazy is okay.
Yeah,
right? A little chaos to the end of the season.
It was definitely the thing I had in my historic Dublin planters that was unlike the other things. It definitely stood out in that way. So, kind of gives off a viney vibe, but it's not a vine, and it has clusters of a light, sky blue.
Yeah, don't let
flower.
dark blue make you think it's some sort of super dark.
I think it was for an annual plumbago. It was on the darker side.
Yeah,
but I would call it a sky blue.
Yeah.
So that one performed really well, and I actually had it in my hanging basket too, which won the contest. So,
and I mean, I'm just gonna say it right now. I think that's what won it for you was that plumbago. Yeah, because it just really set your basket apart from every. Well, I think Adam had it in his also.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I really like what it did in my basket. So that was probably my favorite annual that I grew. What about you?
Yeah, super cool one for me. I mean, it's like my go-to annual that I use every year. So I'm not doing planters that are quite as intricate and award-winning as yours, if you will. I've got a few planters around some of our city buildings, but
Oh, you're
they're not
making me
as
so
big
warm
or
when you
anything
say
like that. So a lot of my stuff is just planting lots of color in big open flower beds around the rec center. So, think amusement park type thing. But mine was, and it performs good for me every year, was Angelonia Angel Face. So the summer snapdragons and really just any of the colors. White, pink, purple. I like intermixing them all together and just kind of having this like flower bed that pukes all these colors out. So that was the big performer for me. It's one of those annuals you put in the ground and it looks nice, but it may be a little slow to start because it really, really likes that hot, dry weather.
Yeah.
But once it kind of gets established, it's one that you can just forget about because it just is going to grow like a weed and just continue to flower. And the flowers are very bold and vibrant and bright. And
it goes well with anything,
mm-hmm.
I've noticed. So it's like if you're trying to do some designs in planters or annual beds, just starting with that is a good jumping off point.
Yeah.
You
use it. I mean, I know you use it. Yeah. So
yeah, I used a whole ton of it this year. Yeah. I really like that. It's the cherry.
Cherry.
One.
Yeah.
It's
like,
almost
like a deep pink,
pinky
like
magenta
red.
almost, and that's the one that the color wise that just strikes me the best. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a really good one. So to kind of flip course here on the annuals, we'll stay with the annuals. But what was the worst one that you had planted, Tim? Like, ooh.
Yeah, I had a couple bummers, but the biggest bummer was the Eskimo white marigold.
Yeah.
So it was an African marigold. So it was one of the marigolds with the big flower heads,
mm-hmm.
not like the French ones with the smaller flower heads, the big round ones. And the Eskimo white is marketed as a creamy white, but it was more of an ugly yellow, and then it had no vigor whatsoever.
Yeah. Bummer.
I think when I was tearing apart the planters, I found one that was like 3 inches tall that was all stunted down there, but it barely bloomed, and the rest had just turned to brown.
Yeah, bummer.
And I mean, there was plenty of orange and gold ones that were doing great. So something was wrong with this plant.
Yeah,
so.
Usually those African marigolds are just bangers, but
yeah. And when I did get it and it was blooming, it was far from white. So yeah,
bummer. So for me, it was ageratum, the blue ageratum, and I don't remember the exact cultivar, but I had a few that did okay. But I planted quite a bit of it, and it just underperformed. It was like it just never got taking off. It never took off for me. Half of it just kind of browned out and died, and it wasn't like it was getting underwatered. It was getting watered the same time as all of the other annuals that were just killing it. But for whatever reason, the ageratum just didn't do it. And it's one that I love. I don't use it very often. So I was kind of bummed also because it's one that I do like. I don't use often. So I was excited to put it in the ground this year, and it just didn't do much. Like I said, I have maybe a half dozen or so of them that were kind of randomly planted in one perennial planting, just little pops of color along the front of the border. But other than that, everything else just crapped out. So
that stinks to hear because I was thinking that was going to be one of the players in that big display we're going to do on that Kaufman Mound.
Then it still can be. It could have just been the plants, or that particular cultivar.
Right. Well, we should revisit the notes from my ordering and make sure that we mark what cultivars.
So I had to go and pick more up though, remember?
Oh, so and maybe that's what did,
because there was like a little mishap on the ageratum that came in,
mm-hmm.
and I had to go pick some up, and I'm trying to remember. I can't remember where I got it from, and even if I did remember, I probably wouldn't say. I wouldn't throw the nursery under the bus, but all of the nurseries that we get from produce good plants. So
okay, I
don't know. We'll look back and see which one it was. But
let me ask you this, Matt.
Yeah.
And I think we might agree on this one, but what was the best new to you perennial that you used this season?
Yeah, new to me perennial is an introduction from Intrinsic Perennials, and you probably know where I'm going to go with this, and that is Sanguisorba Plum Drops. And that's a Brent Horvath.
Where's the claps?
I don't know which one it is. Yeah, good guess.
Good guess.
Yeah, so Plum Drops for sure. It's a bonnet, would be the common name for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it's got a lot of vigor, good drought tolerance, just a really kind of like ferny type foliage, and it just puts this foliage on and puts this foliage on, and then kind of late into the summer it just shoots up these wispy, sturdy stems with these little like plum balls that are like a deep burgundy color.
The blooms reminded me a little of Gomphrena.
Yeah, very very similar to like a Gomphrena.
But we're talking perennials here, and I see a lot of future for us with this plant. Using it in some of the matrix planting, just kind of hiding throughout the early part of the season, and in the summer just jumping out of the grasses and stuff.
Yeah, dude. When I was ordering plugs for us this fall, it was, Brennan was like, I want a flat of plum drops. And Jay was like, I need a flat of plum drops. And we had some plum drops that we up potted into gallons. And I was like, the hell with that. I'm going to order another flat, because not that I need it or you need it or anybody needs it, but I know that if I have an extra 50 plum drops sitting around, the shit's going in the ground.
Yeah.
One of us is going to use it because it just fits into so many cool areas.
It was one of those plants we were just like, when's this going to do something? But when it did finally do something, it was like, whoa. So I think that's why it'd be a great plant just to kind of hide. It can just kind of hide for most of the season. And then late in the season, it just kind of pops out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's probably not one that you're going to see a lot of in the garden centers right now. Potentially, if you're a garden center and you're listening to this, grow plum drops, Sanguisorba plum drops.
Sanguisorba.
Yeah. So that's probably, and so you agree with me on that? Is that your best new perennial of the year?
That is mine. But what about the best performing perennial?
Just performing.
Yeah, one that you grew this year and you were just really impressed with how it looked, how it grew, and how it weathered this drought.
So one that I've talked about before, there's several perennials that fit this category for me, but for me on this one, it's got to be butterfly weed this year. And usually the butterfly weed for me flowers a little bit later. And this year my butterfly weed flowered early. And I don't think it was just me. I think that other people experienced that also. It flowered really early, and I was kind of like, oh, man, this is a bummer. Like, is this thing going to flower and then be done? Like, I'm really needing this to flower a little bit late in the summer to complement some of these other kind of midsummer flowering perennials. So it flowered, and the flowers were there forever, it seemed like. And then it stopped flowering for a hot second. And then all of a sudden, here it comes again. And all of my plants just put out all new blooms, so it still flowered for me like later in the year, and those blooms held on. The plants looked fantastic all summer long, regardless of the drought, and they still look good. I've had several of the neighborhood kids stop, and we're looking at the seed pods on them, before they opened and now after they opened. And I have one out by the mailbox, and the kids always stop because it's always loaded with insects of some sort crawling around on it. And they're always like, that one's cool or that one's ugly. And
if they didn't look good right now, that probably means they were defoliated by monarch caterpillars. So that's a good thing too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, this is the second year now I haven't had any monarch caterpillars at my house, which sucks because I have a lot of butterfly weed planted amongst my gardens. But
we had a couple. We find that at our house, we get them on the butterfly weeds, but they prefer the swamp milkweed.
Yeah,
they go to that first.
Well, I don't have
and
any.
And that's where we found them this year, was just on the swamp.
Okay.
So
yeah, I think Reagan had some on her butterfly weed at home.
Nice.
So they stripped her butterfly weed, and then she was running into the store to buy more of it.
Yeah,
to plant in and around it to make sure that they had the food. So
good.
Good. And I know that there were some other people I saw in the Facebook group that were in search of milkweed for their monarch caterpillars that were stripping their butterfly weed clean. So yeah,
they're good at stripping.
Yeah. What about you, Tim? What was the best performing perennial for you?
Again, it was difficult choice, but I would say the number one performer for me was Golden and Needles Prairie Dropseed, which is another intrinsic introduction.
Man, they're doing some good stuff up there in northern Illinois.
Sporobolus Prairie Dropseed. The cultivar is Golden Needles, and it just has bright chartreuse, golden foliage. And I planted it in my cottage garden a little later because it took a little longer to get in. but it caught up to everything and surpassed everything growth wise. And it had very little water because by the time I got it planted and we started cutting back on the watering this summer, you know, they certainly didn't get as much, but they grew like, I don't know, 6,000 times bigger than the plug. They're pretty darn big.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good one for sure.
Yeah. Which also, I mean, that was also one of my favorite grasses this year. You know, the golden needles prairie drop seed along with like Blackhawks.
Yeah, I was going to say Blackhawks for me on the favorite grass thing.
Yeah.
Andropogon girardii, big blue stem.
Was a perennial plant of the year
Blackhawks.
for 2026 coming up here. And it's
Another intrinsic introduction from Brent.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, man, he's got this shit on lockdown.
Yeah, he does.
So, so favorite grass, Blackhawks, golden needles, prairie drop seed. The golden needles prairie drop seed is a best performing perennial for you. So, sounds like that's one that people need to be growing and people need to be planting in their gardens if they're looking for a nice kind of shorter growing,
you know, grass,
native grass.
And it has a color to it. So it, you know, just like the Blackhawks, it kind of pops, you know, amongst the green.
And I don't know too many gardeners that don't like chartreuse foliage, right? Mm-hmm. It just seems like that's kind of a direction that a lot of plant breeders are going. You're starting to see more of the chartreuse colored leaves on things.
And it stands out against backdrops like brick and wood. Like it really just pops.
Yeah.
You know, in and amongst the green.
Absolutely.
So,
man, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That mixed about with some of that dark like smoke signals, little blue stem.
Mm-hmm.
That chartreuse and that like black color.
And then throw some pycnanthemum in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, or just pycnanthemum, the pycnanthemum muticum, Smoky Mountain Mint.
Yeah.
That Brent introduced, that dark foliage with
the introduction.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah. Moving along here. So we've talked annuals.
Brent, would you like to be our sponsor?
Yeah, right. So we've talked annuals, we've talked perennials, we've talked ornamental grasses. So what about a favorite tree that maybe not one that you planted, because I know you didn't plant a lot this year. I didn't plant a lot of interesting stuff this year. It was mostly just like screening type stuff.
Yeah.
From removing dead spruces and pines. But what was a tree that just spoke to you this year, or one that you just couldn't get enough of?
You're right that I didn't plant very many trees this year, and I didn't plant very many shrubs, but me and the Chinese fringe trees were vibing this summer. And it wasn't even the blooms. It was the big blue droop fruits that they put out. They almost look like oblong blueberries.
Droop fruit?
T-shirt fruit.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Droop fruit.
I
like that.
Okay.
But yeah, they really fruited well this year in an area that I take care of. So I didn't plant these, but I like where they're at. And I'm kind of going to start landscaping around them and use them as a centerpiece. But yeah, me and that plant were vibing big time. So Chinese fringe tree. And these are kind of like a large multi-stem shrub, but they also, are small trees, can be grown as small trees.
So would Chinese fringe tree also be your favorite shrub?
Yeah, we'll just lump it.
Okay.
We'll just lump them.
So the Chinese fringe tree is your favorite tree and shrub.
Correct.
For this year. The one that spoke to you. It really spoke to you.
Yeah, it did.
It did things.
We were vibing. Now you tell me yours.
Yeah, so my favorite tree for the year was the Scarlet Fire Dogwood. Cornus Cusa Scarlet Fire. Just a cool, I love my dogwoods. You know that.
Oh, I know it.
And this is one that has just got, the flower on it is so intense in color. It's crazy. And just beautiful big red fruit this time of the year. Beautiful fall color on it. So anytime you throw a dogwood in front of me, I'm going to love it. But Scarlet Fire.
Matt loves dogs and dogwoods. Two of the passions in his life.
Yeah.
Doggies.
That's right.
Woof, woof.
My doggies. And then as far as a shrub goes, Spirea ogon.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Well, it's another one of those chartreuse foliage plants, right?
Yeah, it's kind of got that old, I don't know, like an old bridal wreath.
Sprawling.
Yeah, feel to it. These sprawling white flowers in the spring. Yellow foliage, 3 to 5 foot, tall and wide, kind of a shrub. can take a little bit of shade. Obviously, the more shade you give it, the greener the foliage is going to be. But
Yeah,
regardless,
I noticed some at Easton picking up some takeout a few weeks back, and it
Yeah.
made me think of you because I know how much you like that shrub, and
it's a good shrub,
I need to be
right?
using it more
Yeah,
often.
it's a wonderful shrub. I planted some up at my parents' place.
Are we full sun for that, or can we
Yeah.
do a little bit of shade?
It could do a little. That was what I was saying. It
Okay.
could do a little bit of shade, but I think that I saw it down south in Georgia, and maybe it appreciated a little bit of shade down there, but it was receiving quite a bit of shade.
Georgia peach.
But yeah, the foliage on it was much greener.
Mm-hmm.
When you get it out into the sun is where
Okay.
it really.
All right, good enough.
Yeah. But another tree, and it's one that's speaking to me a little bit, and I think it's only going to get better, and I know it's speaking to you because you want one, is another dogwood, Cornus alternifolia, whatever the hell this variegated one is that I got. What's it called?
Golden Shadows.
Yeah,
I'm
Golden
actually
Shadows.
surprised that wasn't your favorite.
It just dawned on me as
Yeah.
I was looking at you and your beautiful brown eyes.
Thank you.
I just saw the variegated stem peeking through the window there at me.
I'm a little bit offended. The lighting's off in here. I have hazel eyes.
Okay, your beautiful hazel eyes.
Thank you.
What color are my eyes?
I have no idea.
Okay, thank you. I'm a little bit offended.
I've never been good at eye color.
Yeah.
They all kind of look the same to me.
My birth certificate says hazel, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But like sometimes, depending on what I'm wearing, sometimes they look more green, and then other times my eyes look blue.
I think that's hazel. I think they can kind of change.
Change?
Yeah.
Like a chameleon?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Good eyes, bub.
Yeah, you too, bub. Okay, so we got our favorite plants kind of for the year down. I hope you all enjoyed that. But
We got some other horticulture moments to share.
we have some other horticulture moments. So we spend a lot of time at work in and around prairies and installing them, mowing them, walking through them, seeing what's in bloom, gaining inspiration, looking for deer sheds, whatever it may be.
You're a real prairie junkie.
I love prairies,
You
man. Let nature guide you.
I know it.
So what was your favorite prairie memory for the year?
So my favorite prairie memory was taking a walk through my father-in-law Gary's prairies midsummer, but I was by myself.
Did you have a beer?
I did.
Nice.
Of course I did. And I was just walking and taking photos, and there wasn't I just didn't have the distractions that I have in the normal day-to-day, right?
Not that you mind the distractions.
Correct.
Yeah, let's not get that skewed.
It wasn't that people were absent, but the absence of the people just kept it like the prairie and I had a moment.
Yeah.
And I took a lot
That's
of
beautiful.
photos, and you hear the sounds of the prairie because there's not a whole lot of extra sound out where they live.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a nice peaceful moment.
That's
walking
beautiful.
through the prairies. And it was about prairies, they change every couple weeks. It's just like something new, but I really think when I walked through this time they were hitting their stride.
Yeah.
There was just so much great stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
So-
That's what's cool about prairies is usually they're so diverse that there's always something awesome going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So for me, the best prairie moment of the year was just we've been working on installing prairies around the city of Dublin. So we've been identifying areas of mowed grass. So some of these areas are anywhere from maybe like an eighth or a quarter of an acre and up. Typically under an acre, though, it would be mowed areas to the entranceway of HOAs or along bike paths. And these are green spaces that literally don't get used for anything. No houses around, so there's no kids playing soccer. They're just big open areas of grass that get fertilized, sprayed for weeds, and mowed. That is it.
Yeah.
So
What a waste.
we've been identifying these areas and we've been going in, killing off the non-native turf grasses, and we've been seeding native prairie mixes right into it. We're fortunate to have a really nice prairie specific seeder at work made by a company called Truax. It's like a slice seeder, a no-till seeder, if you will. And we've just been using that. And it was one of the prairies that I had installed a handful of years ago. And then there was an engineering construction job, and they decided to literally build a stone parking lot on top of my prairie. And when they came in and they ripped all the stone out rather than restoring the prairie to how it was, they just grass seeded it. So I immediately, when that grass started coming up, went in and sprayed it, reseeded it. Needless to say, the prairie came back, looked beautiful. And it was walking through that kind of early this summer and seeing my first monarch caterpillar of the year. And that's, that was a special moment for me. Yeah. I don't see him at home, but it was nice to see one.
And it was one of the first generations, because I remember it being pretty early, because I remember getting that text from you with the photo, and I was like, damn it, he beat me.
Yeah, it was fun, because so at work we have this little running thing every year. It seems like who's the first to find the monarch caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if everyone still plays it. I always have it in my mind, when I start thinking like,
and
it's about that time I'm looking for him.
That Brenna's got a keen eye for him.
I know.
So the fact that you beat her was pretty impressive.
She can find them little babies, and
oh, gosh.
But yeah, so that was a really cool moment for me, and it was just like, because of my efforts, this thing is here, and just one of, I'm sure, many that were in that prairie this year. So
your prairie efforts do not go unnoticed. So
I don't know.
Thank you, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, harder plus 2.
Okay.
So that was kind of our best prairie moments. Tim, I'm going to ask you. I'm not a vegetable gardener, not because I don't like vegetables or because I wouldn't want to grow vegetables, but I just don't have the space to grow vegetables. Mm-hmm. My entire backyard is shade. I have a small front yard that's just loaded with perennials. I don't have a lot of room to really grow a vegetable garden. But what came out of your garden this year that was just like Tim's pick, best veggie, hands down, this is the one?
My top veggies this year were 2 tomatoes. The first was a gin fizz tomato, which is a large tomato.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful light red orange skin, and then when you cut into it, it's like splotchy orange and red. Super sweet, perfect for eating just with some just plain, or with some basil. Perfect for a like a BLT, a sliced tomato. And then also sun gold. Yeah. Which is a cherry tomato that's orange, and when it's ripe, it's bright orange. And I've just had the great success with them not splitting, making tons of tomatoes, and they're so sweet.
Dude, there is nothing better, in my opinion, there is no better garden snack in this world than just an off-the-vine cherry or grape tomato. Yeah, cherry tomato specifically.
You just can't replicate that from the store.
Yeah, we grow them at the greenhouse. And Nick would always grow a couple of them in the greenhouse, and it was great because you'd be working and maybe in the veggie greenhouse watering, and it's like, there's a handful of ripe tomatoes there. I'm just gonna pick off a handful, and
it's delicious.
You have a little mid-water snack, and it's great,
Yeah.
So, and while we're talking about your tomato gardens, can fill the listeners in a little bit on Amelia's business venture for the 2026 growing season, or has that already kind of...
No, we're...
Okay.
Amelia loves tomatoes. So she's going to grow a whole bunch of kinds of tomatoes this year, and she's going to, this next season, and then have a little produce stand where she sells little pints of tomatoes.
I love it.
A very reasonable price, and it'll be good to teach her a little bit about, business operations, and she's going to pick the seed out and things like that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it's really Amelia driven once we get going.
Yeah. So what are the stipulations with that for her? Does she get to pick out the tomatoes, or are you going to pick out the varieties and then she plants them and harvests them?
I told her we'd pay for the tomato seed off the top and the little paper containers we use to.
But what I'm saying though is is she going to pick out the types of tomatoes?
Yeah, she gets to pick them out, and she's going to have to do the work in the garden.
Yeah, very good.
The weeding and the harvesting, and if she's making signs and things like that. So she's going to have to do all that, but we'll pony up the big bucks at the beginning.
Yeah, it'll give her a new appreciation for gardening.
Yeah.
Not just getting to enjoy, the wonders of what you've done,
mm-hmm.
but actually having to get out there and learn what
Thanks
it
for
takes
bringing
to,
that up. I need to give that a little bit more thought before we put that into motion next year.
yeah, so she can kind of learn what it takes to get, that food she enjoys so much from seed and the work that goes into it. So cool, man. What else we got on here, bub? That's plant related. Best. Okay, we talked about compliments. So as horticulturists, I think we all love compliments, right? I always like to tell people that we're kind of like artists with plants, and every artist likes their work being complimented, whether it be photographer, painter, sculptor, whatever it may be, glass blower. Everybody wants others to enjoy it. So when you have people that stop and take notice of your work and they express that enjoyment
And just even ask questions.
it brings you like a moment of joy and happiness and pride. And for me personally, it's kind of like, okay, this is why I do this.
Yeah.
Like if I'm making other people happy with the work that I do, then I'm doing something right. So
what was your best moment this summer that made somebody happy about the garden that you planted?
Yeah, so there are two moments that stick out in my mind. One of them was no compliment, but there was an art class in Kaufman Park, and all of the people had their little portable easels out, and they were oil painting pictures of the gardens that I have planted. That was pretty cool.
I remember that.
Just driving by and it's like, oh, cool. There's an art class out
very
there.
Flattering
painting stuff, right? So if it looked like shit, chances are they wouldn't have been there painting it.
Mm-hmm.
But the one moment that really made me say, okay, I'm doing something cool or whatever was there's some people that live down the street from us here, and I had never met him before. I had seen him, but I had met his wife, and I can't for the life of me remember their names, and that's horrible of me, but she always stops and compliments the garden and continues on with her kids. She's walking with her little ones, and they're wild and darting off on their bikes out in front of her, and so we don't get a lot of time to talk. But I'm at the garden center, and I kind of saw them walking in, was busy with something, and I don't know, 10, 15 minutes later, he walks up to me, not knowing who I was, and was just like, hey, we're looking for perennials and things. There's a guy that lives in our neighborhood that we love his landscape. And he's like, here, I got pictures I want to show you so you can help pick out some of the plants that he's got planted in his landscape. And just as before he can even get his phone out, his wife comes up. She's like, honey, that's Matt. That's the landscape that we want to, So it's just like, holy crap. Like they had stopped and taken photos of the front of my house to come into the garden center to try and find perennials that I've used.
And just to clarify, she was calling your husband honey, not you.
Me.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a really cool moment for me. And then, we got to walk around the garden center for a half hour or so, and
that's really funny.
Pick out some perennials for them so they could get a start on some things. They're not going to dive in quite to the extent that I have, but baby steps for them. So yeah. That was my moment. What about you, Bub?
So we had a resident write into the city of Dublin on one of our, send in work that needs done or compliments you've got, and I'll actually read it to you. It said, appreciation from many of us in the historic Dublin to the city and whoever designed the planter boxes in Historic District. The color variety is innovative, cheerful, and would make an impressionist painter proud.
That's awesome.
We thank you every time we pass. And those are the things that are always just the icing on the cake, right?
Oh,
it's like, hey, somebody noticed, right?
No, absolutely.
Because, we drive by this stuff and walk by this stuff dozens of times a day, right? And we're always like, I hope somebody notices what we're up to, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really cool compliment. And what I love about it is how they're like, what did you say? Impressionist painting. So you think like fine art, right? With impressionist type painting. but little do they know that your whole entire color scheme was based off of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like, as like cartoony as it could be.
Yeah.
But another compliment that I'm pretty sure you were standing there for it, that I hope that you enjoyed, was when we were at Cultivate and we ran into Nick McCullough and him and his wife at the Cultivate show, and we got to chit-chat and kind of for a hot minute about Dublin and just kind of what we're doing and how much praise they gave you for the planters downtown.
Yeah, she was like, oh, we spent some time in Dublin. Who takes care of those? Who designs those planters? And I was like, that's me. And I kind of like sheepishly raised my hand, and she was like, we love those. And that was a very high compliment.
Yeah, and this is a company that makes a hell of a lot of money doing very, very high-end stuff. So in order to grab the attention of them, I think, they've set the bar pretty damn high for expectations with container gardening and land, just gardening.
And what I hope is they saw some combination in there that they were like, oh, we hadn't thought of that. We're going to use that.
Yeah.
And that would make me very happy.
Oh, yeah, because I would say that I've definitely, thumbed back on Nick's Instagram page for inspiration in different ways, whether it be something at work or a landscape design that I'm working on, on the side.
It's neat when someone like that is taking inspiration from you, right? Mm-hmm. And you do a lot of thumbing things, so
I do.
It's not the only thing Matt's thumbing.
Yeah. True that, bub.
So speaking of the conference, the Cultivate conference, what was the best conference freebie that you received?
So I put a couple things down here for conference freebie, and I'm trying to find them on the list here. Where are they at? Oh, okay. So I think you and I both agreed on the fresh tamales. I don't remember who it was, but there was just this this Hispanic man that owned a company. And he had like his family there with him, and they just had this massive Yeti cooler full to the top and individually wrapped fresh tamales.
Fresh, warm. He's like, my mom made these.
Yeah, this is like
fresh.
10th generation recipe for tamales that my mom made fresh and they were just handing these things out. And it was like,
and up until that point, we'd had for breakfast, we'd have a Starburst and a Snickers just from these booths. And then it was like, there's the breakfast that I've been dreaming of right there.
Nothing like a nice spicy tamale at 9 o'clock in the morning.
And even our pickiest eater, Kyle, loved it. We all wanted to go back and get more, but we didn't want to be greedy.
I wasn't with you guys because I would stop talking to somebody when you made the corner, but Kyle comes back to me and just like, dude, you gotta come, just frantic. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And we get around there, and it was the tamales. But another really cool freebie that I got was at that refertilizer place, that fertilizer company that we interviewed, and they had those badass Mighty Ducks looking hats.
Yeah, they were the Mighty Ducks colors, and they said refertilizer.
Refertilizer on them. Yeah, those were really cool. But the one freebie thing that really made me laugh was when we were standing talking to Marshall and Burby at the Leo Burby Bulb Company stand, and they've got this beautiful, beautiful display there. And I'm not just saying that because I work at Dutch Mill and know the family and all this and that, but the display was gorgeous. And they had those jars of marshmallows and candies that was all part of their display, not to be eaten. And Marjolaine and I just turn around, and you've got your hand, you're wrist deep in the jar of display marshmallows, and you're just mashing out on these things, and they're all that's our display that you're eating.
Well, there was one woman who was like, "Do you know what those are?" She clearly didn't like them. They're the colorful marshmallows, and I was with my mouth full, I was like, I know what they are.
They're delicious. Yeah. Oh man, that cracks me up. That was a fun moment. That was a funny moment for sure. Yeah. So, what else we got on here, man? Let's. I
want to do nervous poops.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll do. Yeah, biggest nervous poops moment. Again, back to cultivate, and I think that this was for both of us, right?
Yeah.
What was the biggest nervous poops moment?
I mean, I have a whole bunch of nervous poops throughout the season for different reasons, but the biggest nervous poops was speaking at Cultivate.
Yeah, so we've done public speaking engagements in the past,
This one was different.
but it's always for like, smaller gardening clubs, volunteer groups, master gardeners, little Dublin gardening groups, and that's wonderful. We love talking to those groups of people. They're always like so appreciative of us taking, time out of our day to speak with them and stuff, but we had never really opened ourselves up to speaking in front of a large group of very horticulturally minded people that like are sitting in there taking notes in our class that we look up to. You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Right. And talking to people who are more well versed in the industry than you are, but they're there listening to you. So, I mean that's was very nerve wracking. And I think we nailed it.
yeah, we did a really good job. But that was for sure the biggest nervous poops moment that I've had in quite some time.
I love the sense of relief though when you're done.
When you're done and you have like everybody like coming up to you, like asking good questions. I'm like, oh, that was so awesome, and you just feel like, man, it's almost like a little high.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that as years go on and you do more and more and more of those events, maybe that feeling's not quite as special. But for us, that first time, and I want to say there was close to 100 people in the room. And it was, just hearing still hearing good feedback, just this past week we were at an open house and
that gentleman we met on our way out.
And they're like, hey, I was at your talk at Cultivate. It was awesome, and it's just like, all right, that's cool.
Which reminds me, we have 1 week if we'd like to submit to speak there again. We have 1 week to do so. So if any listeners have any suggestions on what you'd like us to speak at Cultivate about, we're
all ears.
All ears, because we're having trouble thinking of a great topic.
Yeah. Speaking of the Cultivate show, I think we both agreed that our funniest interview of the year, we have a lot of fun interviews.
All the interviews were fantastic.
Yeah, we loved all of the guests that we have had on so far this year, but there was one that just stuck out to us. It was really, really funny. The interview was fun. The conversations before and after the interview were fantastic. And I think next year we're going to run a whole episode with this dude, and that was JC Chong from C-Pro. And this dude was just a riot. So if you haven't listened, go back and listen to our Cultivate interview episode. I can't remember the title of it, but there's a little snippet in there from JC Chong from C-Pro. He's a entomologist, and he talks bugs and lots of fun things, and he's just a hoot.
Yeah, he schooled us on some Malaysian food. He talked to us about lightning bugs, which I didn't realize were such a dynamic species, and he was just all around funny and carefree and and so smart. So
0 F's given by that guy.
And what was crazy is the first time this has ever happened, we walked away and you went to see how it sounded, and it didn't record.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't record properly. No. So we had to go back to him and say, can we do this again? And he was so fine with it. And the second one was great.
Yeah. The first one I think was a little bit better, but
yeah.
The second one
we'll never know if that's true or not.
But dang, yeah, he's a funny dude. And we didn't really realize how influential he was like within the industry until after that. And your wife's like, wait, you guys interviewed JC? And we're like, yeah, why?
I read his...
Yeah, and I'm like, who the hell is this guy? So I like looked him up, and I'm like, oh, crap. Like, this dude's legit. Like, he's done some stuff in the horticulture industry.
For sure.
So,
for sure.
Tim, favorite gardening music? So when you're out in the garden, or maybe you're at work, and we're planting some stuff, and you're going to turn on the radio, hook into the aux port, and open the doors... Maybe even throw on the Bluetooth jam box. What are you cranking up? What are you turning on for everybody?
So I initially go to something very, what's the word I'm looking for? Americana.
Yeah.
Or
folky.
Mm-hmm. like a Gregory Alan Isakov, or I like a little Fleet Foxes when I'm gardening.
Oh yeah.
It's just very relaxing and kind of just puts me in a good groove. Um, and I think that kind of music is just okay for the masses because it's, it's not offensive in any way, and you can kind of just get lost in yourself with that. But I will say there are times when I'm at home and there's nobody's home, and I will blast some gangster rap from my high school days, and that just gets me more motivated. So
I believe it completely.
some DMX, some Tupac, some Outkast, things along those lines.
Yeah. I don't go the gangster rap avenue like you do. I mean, I listened to some rap in high school, and I have an appreciation for like some old Dre and Snoop, even some Eminem. But for me, like right now, I'm on this big Billy Strings kick. Yeah. So anything folky, bluegrassy, Americana, Gregory is a great one. Any of that stuff. But I've just been on this huge Billy Strings kick. So
yeah, I think I threw some Billy Strings on Monday.
You did, yeah.
And we were putting some annuals in the ground.
So Billy Strings for sure is up there for me. Yeah, so any of that bluegrassy stuff. For me, like, as hard as it probably gets would be like, I'll throw on some like 90s like grunge alternative, like some Pearl Jam or some Stone Temple Pilots. Maybe something, or Rage Against the Machine. I love Incubus, so maybe Incubus will find its way if there's not a lot of people around. But yeah, I feel like a Billy Strings playlist usually will work.
You know what I find bothersome when I'm working in a group at work is when you put on something like, say you just have the truck radio and you're just playing like, whether it's like classic rock or new wave punk or pop or whatever it is when people know the songs and they try to sing along to them while you're trying to just like plant.
Oh, like me?
That.
I sing along. No? You're not in my mind when I say that, I guess is where I'm going for. But I like it. I like just having some great background music on that not everyone necessarily knows or is familiar with, but they're like, hey, I like this. You know, and I think that's a good vibe to have when you're working in a group. Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. Couple more here, and then we'll kind of wrap it up. So I had favorite podcast besides the Shrubby Buddies podcast, of course, but one that I listen to. I don't think that you listen to a ton of podcasts, but one that I find myself listening to quite a bit, and I have for several years now, is the Fine Gardening podcast. Let's Argue About Plants. I will throw that podcast on and listen to that because I think that there's some really good banter between Danielle on that podcast and whoever the hosts are on. I can't remember their names. But anyways, I think that that's a really good one for me personally.
And you're right. I'm not a big podcast listener. Unfortunately, I would like to get into it. When I have listened to podcasts, I've enjoyed what I've listened to. It's kind of like reading for me.
Yeah.
Like I really need to be in the moment for that.
So I find myself like on road trips, like if I'm heading up to the motherland and I'm by myself, or even if Taylor's in the car with me, she reads a lot, or she'll throw her headphones on. And I'll listen to some music. Like I've been digging on like nugs.net, listening to live shows, whether that be like Billy Strings or like a Grateful Dead show or Fish or Goose or something. But I will listen to podcasts on those longer road trips. I just feel like they kill time, whether that be like a gardening podcast or I throw on some sort of like a true crime thing. So that's it for me.
And to our listeners, I want you to emulate Matt, not me, when it comes to podcasts. I want you to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would say our podcast is the best. That's my answer.
Absolutely. Shrubby Buddies podcast. And then let's do last but not least, and we'll kind of wrap this episode up because I know that we're running on like an hour here, but our favorite kind of social media or Instagram account. Sorry for the squeaky in the background. That's Nissa's in here with her little squeaky toy.
Maybe AI will pull it out. If not, you're just listening to a dog squeak on her happy toy.
Yeah, and
she's very happy.
I'm a dog guy, and she's happy, and she was left for dead a year ago. So you know what? If
and
she wants to come in here on her comfy blanket and squeak on her toy, then she can
She
do
was
it.
covered in ticks,
Ticks, fleas, cuts, skin infections, mange, all of it.
abused.
Bad. Anyways,
So, hey,
let's move
Nissa,
on.
squeak away.
Favorite Instagram account? You had mentioned Chicago Botanic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like Chicago Botanic because they throw up a lot of really nice pictures, but also really great info.
Yeah.
So if you don't follow Chicago Botanic, and they're like in with all the big time gardeners.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, all the big time gardeners have designed gardens there and go back there and visit often. So it's just from top to bottom, horticulture speaking, it's there.
And they're right in the heart of like a horticulture mecca
Mhm.
in Chicago
Yeah.
and the surrounding areas of Chicago. So, I mean, in Chicago, you've got them. You have the gardens, the Lurie Garden at Millennium Park. You have Diblick's Shed Gardens at the Shed Aquarium. You've got Roy Diblick's Northwind Perennials up the road.
And speaking
You've
of,
got
I'd put
intrinsic perennials.
Lurie Garden right up there with Chicago Botanic for
Yeah.
another good Instagram follow.
And then you've got ball seeds there, which is also Darwin perennials, and what's their vegetable? Burpee, Burpee. So burpee seed, the vegetable side of things. But I put down one that we have fun with is the Shady Ladies of Raymond's Garden Center down at Hendersonville, North Carolina. You and I had the pleasure of meeting them a year ago.
Shout out Brenda and Kay.
Yeah, Brenda and Kay down there doing their thing at this. It's like 100% women owned and operated garden center in Hendersonville, just kind of down there in the hills there of North Carolina. Beautiful garden center, top notch, beautiful quality plants, and these two, Brenda and Kay, are just a lot of fun.
Yeah, you should give them a follow. They really put on a show on their Instagram page.
Yeah.
So it's the Shady Ladies of Raymond.
Yep.
Is where you're gonna find them to type into the old Instagram account.
Yeah, they just have a lot of good banter, and they're silly and they're fun, and they love plants, they love horticulture, they love all of it. They don't take life too seriously. That's what we love. That's what we love about them is they're very similar to us.
And how can the Shrubby Buddies not love the Shady Ladies?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a match made in
And that
heaven.
was a lot of fun when we were down there.
Yeah.
And they were like on the bus, we're going to meet the Shady Ladies. And we're like, wait, we're the Shrubby Buddies. So we went up and introduced ourselves. And it's like,
it became quite the spectacle.
yeah, Brenda was up at Cultivate and came and watched us talk. And we got a picture with her. And they're always messaging us on Instagram. And there's just this, I don't know. It's cool. It's like having a couple of friends down in North Carolina.
Yeah,
and
it's wonderful meeting friends in this industry for sure. It's a great place to finish, tugging at my heart a little bit.
Absolutely. So cool. Well, I hope you all enjoyed our Wet Hort American Summer, the Superlatives of 2025, or for Samwise Gamgee, the Superlatives of 2025. I know he'll appreciate that, but yeah, so that's it for this week. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll figure out a way to get something done next week.
We will.
But yeah,
we will.
So until then,
we love you harder. We miss you.
+2.
Bye.
Bye-bye.